So this is all in order, or progression or bits and pieces, as we know, trying to break down the concept of really what it is we're building. And for most people, we know that love is a word and it's a frequency, and you can comprehend that. And we're just doing it. It's just the becoming of it, and organically. And those are amazing people that can just organically find love and have removed themselves from the world and are resonating to that frequency. That's the intention of what we're to be doing. So for those, well done. But for us, and our job is to tether Scripture, because it still is a stepping stone, and there's many people that are holding tight to the Bible and its perspective and what it speaks to them and where they are. And I mean no disrespect to the lesser and the greater, but is there a lesser and a greater? And our job is to reveal some hidden frequencies that are right in plain sight. We just can't see it because we're not resonating correctly. So we were talking about the cypress tree, and we're talking about the timber, the Ashurah pole, and how it connects to the relationship. And I believe that the Ashurah pole is the representation of mother, and the cypress would be the representation of father. And hopefully we can bring clarity to that. But again, it's frequencies, and it's telling a story and a narrative that is being broken down from many degrees and many different fractals, but it's saying the same thing of this is the piece and this is the piece, see the piece, weave them together, build this.
As one.
As one.
So having the two different faces, like
Right.
the Ashurah and the Cypress, same coin, two different faces.
Both trees, they just resonate to it. They have components of frequencies in the definition of their letters and what they're saying. They're saying these are attributes. So everything is attributable acclamation, right? You're acclimating to a resonance until you become that resonance, and then a greater one is given, and it's all based on measures and proportions and degrees, but in its innocent form of degrees. I'm not saying that through anything other than just stepping in the purpose step that presents itself as a journey. So, but before I start, I came across a word yesterday that I don't usually come across. So I have to be obedient to it because I believe the Spirit was sharing this with me. And the word was Palanquin. And it came up in my thought and going like, well, Palanquin is not just a word that comes up in my thought. And I don't know if it comes up in anyone's thought. But that was just a really
random
word.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just was like, I was already into something else, and then I came back and then I was going through how I go through my files, through like the forensic work of extracting this, and all of a sudden it popped up again. Palanquin popped up in my peripheral, and then I was quickly moving. I didn't stop on it, but I just saw it. I said, wait a minute, did that just say Palanquin again? Right after it was already in my thought, and then I finished what I was doing, and I went back and I couldn't find it. So I said, I wrote down Palanquin. I said, I need to go see what this is. And why I'm sharing this is that where I wanted to go today is the crossing over of the ark, because the timbers of the Ashurah pole that breaks down to that, we've already broken that down in the teachings, and we can revisit that. But the cypress, these are all frequencies of wood that directly connect to gopher wood and to building the ark of crossing. So when I went and looked up Palanquin, and this is what I wanted to do yesterday, we just never got to it because we were so busy, but the definition of palanquins is conveyance, formerly used especially in Eastern Asia, usually for one person, that consists of an enclosed litter borne on the shoulders of men by means of poles. That's a palanquin.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking pretty much an ark language here. It's something that's carried on the shoulders of men.
Oh, I get it. So how the priests transported the ark from one place to another.
Right.
They had poles, and the priests bore the weight of the ark upon their shoulders.
On their shoulders. But that's all types and shadows, even though they did do that, at least from the narrative of what we're seeing. A palanquin is exactly that, is to carry one form of royalty. It's a governmental position of heirship, and because of that position, it's carried on the shoulders. Now we're talking in right measure that this is a headship, and then it's supported by a governing body. That's the shoulder representation, and that's exactly what the ark was representing in its type and shadow.
The lifting up of the becoming process
Right.
of the royal ones.
Right. So let's go to one word to start this off first, and I think it's a great word to initiate this one. Let's go to 7189. This word, Qoshet, is truth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from an unused root, to balance, as evenly weighed. It has an A-B definition too, and both say the same thing. There's no fraction in the truth. It's all just truth. You go to B, truth, A is truth, and then you come back to the original word truth, right?
This is actually the place of center balance, and for anybody who's gone through the ancient Hebrew wedding teaching, I do talk about this. So this is a very big word.
It's a very big word.
Very big word.
And what my point is that we're talking about palanquin,
Mm-hmm.
and we're talking about what balances the palanquin, because it's a procedure and it's an orchestration within that a balanced heart and a balanced mind is able to rightly stand. We've already brought definition to a head and feet and through the other renderings. And so this palanquin is one that's compressed as the Shin, right, through choices. Through the world, truth has been extracted, and we have this Qoshet that are presenting themselves as frequencies. And I don't want to go too deep into, I don't want to lose too many people in what we're doing. I just need to really maybe keep to the narrative to really say what's going on. But we can still extract out this. We just don't need to extract out really deep, because I know we're going to lose people in the translation. But the kuf is compression in the circle of time. So we're compressing light and dark in the circle of time. In the Shin, and we've already stated what the Shin is really. That the Shin is really the ivory chest. That and it ties into Song of Solomon, where the Shin definition is really the tusks of authority. Right? We're talking a language of teeth. That's what the Shin is established in, and it's authoritative power. In control. It's balanced as an elephant would have tusks. It should be in right representation, completely balanced power and authority.
Right, through the consuming process of what you consume to form yourself, but also to consume the beast nature.
Right. And
I mean, there's a lot of meaning in the Shin.
There's a lot of meaning in the Shin, and we're going to go into it a little bit today because of where we have to go, if we have time, but we'll see. And that's done through the Tet, which is choosing between the snake head and the crown, which the snake head is really only an adversarial component that would allow you to see if you're seated correctly in the basket, and the basket is the ark. The Tet will show you that, because the Tet by definition says that it's the basket in the earth. It's the place that we wrestle in the basket. Because of what we're forming. How do you form an ark? Through a measure of choice.
Well, that's interesting too, because it has mud in there, and I instantly think about clay.
Right. And so,
unformed clay as a lump in the world.
The dust.
Yeah, the dust of the earth, and then you can connect it to Adam as well.
Right. Well, it actually, so we've already brought up Aphor from Ephraim,
right,
that this is a double measure, or a measure that is it's the wrestle in the dust, right, of the ashes, and so you're fully consumed in the revelation of what you're building.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't know what we're building, then how can we build it?
Right, because the vision has to be presented, hence why blueprints are always written and drawn up beforehand in the natural. Right?
So,
and that goes back to Tabnith.
So this is just
building through the pattern of the ark.
right. So let's look at the two. There's only two occurrences of this word. Let's look at them really quickly. The first one's in Psalm 60, verse 4, and the second one is in Proverbs 22, 21. Really?
Look at that.
So, and what does it say? To make you know the certainty of words.
And that's the certainty. I love this.
So
it's the word amet, which means truth.
So
Mother's truth, tav, the truth of the one love.
Yes. So.
And it's yada.
So yeah. So what it's showing here is the truth is connected to the truth. And this whole process is this is how we balance ourselves through the tet in the earth. So every letter is connected to every letter. It simply is progressional revealing itself in the process. This is why what we are doing our best to do is really make a standpoint, like a tripod, and purposely set. We're making a tripod, and now we're setting up a telescope to give vantage point and perspective to a mountaintop. So I'm giving a visionary here. So what we're doing, because the tripod is very important, that we have three legs that are separated so we can stand correctly.
That is like the most solid foundation you can have.
Triangle.
Yep.
So now we are going to set that, and so now we're going to view the mountaintop regardless of where we are. That's just where we are. There's no shame, no guilt, no condemnation in that. It's just where we all are in our given moment. But it'd be really handy to know, and for myself, that if someone could cast a vision and say, there's a mountaintop, that's where you're going, and you can calibrate from that place and say, oh, well, that's really cool. I was going over here, or I already was going that way, then so be it. So that's really what I'm trying to assist to do, is just to put a perspective on a mountaintop so we can reach that intention. Let's call it for what it is. If we can realize that we can move all the partials out and all the nuances of that compromises, so we can just remove those, then we can see the intention correctly, and we can see the experience and the opportunity of experience to then reach destination of intention. Purpose words. So let's go to the first occurrence of this one in Psalms, and we can just visit these really quickly. Let's just go to Psalm 60, verse 4. So I just wanted to read this through real quick, and
well, there's really cool stuff already here.
Yeah, so why don't you go ahead, because I'm going to dig, so you just start rolling on that.
So the very first word you have given, the root of it is natan, noon, tav, noon, but one of the noons have been removed. And so that's telling us that in the very beginning, there's a risen noon, there's a spiritual path of the two covenants, the twin markings of a mother and father, which is the pattern of the cherubim on the Ark of the Covenant, that is going to reveal something.
Okay, so let's just stop right there for a second. And each one of those...
And that is on the father's side. So the hay that was removed due to the fall, because we fell into materialism and the veil, this hay, it's profound. Whenever the hay is added on the suffix side, it's very profound.
Yeah. So we're gonna land this in a spot that I need to get to. So we're just not gonna spend too much time, even though this is really, really meaty right here. I just want to show you what is being constructed. That even that noon tav, no, it's all good stuff. It's all really good stuff. So the noon tav hey. So would you agree with me that the tav would be 22 and the other tav would be 22?
Absolutely.
And so it's telling you that you have been given the ability to raise yourself in the activity of life, noon, through the 22 and the 22's revelation. That's where what we, because it's the 22nd letter. There is a 23rd that we're going to hopefully get to here that's directly tied to the DNA. Mm-hmm. And I can see it, so we're going to try to get there, not today, but this is the goal of, you're building the temple or the ark, and it's your reflection. Mountaintop from the tripod of the telescope, we're trying to triangulate into a vantage or to a finished point. So the next word is to those that fear you. Well, that's not what really is being said. It's what has been given to you is the 22 and the 22. Have reverence. It's teaching you reverence, which is really another form of humility. It's saying have reverence for this because this is going to produce. These are the teachings that will produce a banner.
Right, and we've got the lamed in front.
Right.
So it's the instructions of light, and lamed is the beginning of heart, lamed bet,
Right.
the authority of the inward man, and then it's yod kaf. So it's that giving and the receiving of the power that comes through the language that will lift your fallen words, which don't transform, to give you ones that will bring forth the revelation of one love.
And the only way you can be lifted is if you're balanced. If your weight is shifted to one side, if you're out of neutrality or center, then the Palanquin is going to be very difficult to shoulder because all your weight is shifted to one side. Anyone that's lifted knows the concept of physics of going like, can you center the weight? I've got all the weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then it's balanced, and then it's able to govern self appropriately or proper, in a proper balance,
Right.
because it's been balanced and therefore it's shouldered equally.
Well, and that's amazing because generally one palanquin would be lifted by four man, and that's a word that we have discussed before about quadration.
Yes.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, we're not going to go there yet, but yes, it needs to. I'm trying to just give headship on a 2D level on a piece of paper of just like a point,
Right.
and then points down. So now you're a banner. So now this is equal weight distributed. So this is reverence. You've now seen the 22 and the 22. You're partnering with the revelation of this revealing, and it's causing reverence to really what it's saying, because the measure of one, because this is what's in the Palanquin, it carries one. And this is a representation of the art where the two are joined as one. And so this measure of one is, if it's not balanced, then it's not one, is the point. It is only one if it's rightfully balanced and centered.
And hence why you start talking about Qoshet.
In truth.
Yep. And then Nes also means a miracle.
So, very good. So now you see Nes,
Yep.
and now we have even, which is the noon Semek.
Yeah.
So now one is risen, and the Semek is a really big deal. For a simple little word, it really means you're risen, and a miracle, you're really become a signet. It's a sign and a miracle, and it's actually an etching and a marking, and it's adorned as a signet. A wedding ring, a band, a banner.
That's exactly what it is,
It's-
because it is a, whenever you see it, it's a symbol of the wedding ring, which is covenant.
So, and again, we can spend hours extracting a one verse, but we need to move through it. So we're gonna, so it's a banner, and we can extrapolate up much width than right over here for extraction, but we're gonna rein it in, and this is a perfect teaching for anybody to go into,
Yeah, I totally get it. I'm also trying to connect two dots of previous teachings that have been released,
absolutely.
so that people can go, oh, that's what the ancient Hebrew wedding is all about.
This is all about this. This is one, again, on the telescope. If we're looking at the mountaintop, this would be one waving back at me. Oh, there he is. He's at the top and he's waving.
Come this way.
He's in the Palanquin and he's sitting
Right.
there and he's waving with both hands, and he's got a signet ring on both hands.
Which is why the next word has the dual semex.
Right, and so what do they say is the definition of the word?
It may be displayed.
It may be displayed, but look at the word. It's new. So now we have
Also means to flee and escape. That's awesome. I'm just showing it on the screen
Okay.
so they can
So
see
now we
it.
have nis nous. Now we have, if you look at the extraction of this, now we have both signets on that are the one is added through this becoming a sign, a signal, a miracle. This next word this would have been said nis nous. Now you have the other signet on there. It's an added. Look at how the morphology of that word is.
Yeah.
Right? What's really interesting in this, in the first occurrence of this news, it talks about to flee and escape.
Yep.
And look at the first occurrence,
Oh,
Gomorrah.
and we were talking about that the other day.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about this. This is where I need to get to, because we're going to talk a little bit about what the brimstone is.
Okay.
Because this is directly connected to the ark.
Okay.
And so now, again, in the higher frequency, I'm not saying that Sodom and Gomorrah didn't happen. I wasn't there. I don't know. But what I do know is through the resonance of what the Father and the Spirit are showing me is there's an extracted language that has been hidden, and now it's presenting itself in this season of truth, light, and love, and it's speaking a frequency that's still it's wound into the story, and we can see it right here. So Gomorrah fled. They fled, and it's directly connected to this story, right? Through this occurrence, I can see like, oh wow, so if I want to flee and escape, it's something to do with a sign and a miracle and having signet rings, right? In the higher narrative.
Well, and it's interesting. It's Malach Sodom, right?
Yep.
Melchizedek, and Sodom, it's Semek, blood.
Right.
Married to the one blood. Married to the family.
Absolutely. Yeah. When we start
The
going,
kings.
yeah, and again, if you've already fled, if this person's on the mountaintop, they have done much. Like we can't even really. I could just pass you the Bible and said like, these are those. They rendered everything clear, so we can say these ones that are there, they've connected everything. So it's connected to everything. It has to be, otherwise they wouldn't be in the Palanquin.
Right. Right.
So on that 5127, go down the occurrences really quick. Genesis 14, so 14:10. So now we have Sodom and Gomorrah fled.
Right.
And then we have survived. Then we have flee.
Fled. Okay. Survived to the hill. Fled to the hill. Survived.
Right.
Okay.
And then Genesis 39:12, in her hand, fled.
Yep.
So we're talking, and this is garment language. It's right there, garment.
Okay.
In her hand, because the Semek is a signet ring. It's a seal.
Yep.
So then even down further, that's another garment language, beside me and
Are
fled.
you wanting to get to the serpent and Moses?
Sure.
Because it's Lamed Nakash.
Yeah, the teacher the light-bearing
That
serpent.
prognosticates.
Right. So prognostication is really cast out vision. It's vision that was spoken out of the mouth. Remember, serpent means thought. So this light bearer, this teacher of light, aka serpent, is all about thought, and it produced prognostication that spoke out to Moshe.
Well, and Moshe means to be drawn out of the water.
And that's where it was a meditation.
So draw out of the waters of chaos.
But also let's connect it to
chaotic thought.
Why is Moshe Moshe? He was drawn out of the water, but he was put into the basket.
Yes, he was.
Right.
Well, he was put in the basket before he was thrown into the water by his mother.
Right. So we're going to talk about water, and we're going to talk about the basket here in just a second. I just wanted to connect this so we can connect with all these amazing definitions of even livestock. This is olive, right? This is cattle, but this is all connected to fleeing, mountaintop, rule and reign, keep on going down, fleeing into the wilderness. We're going to finish this verse real quick, but let's just keep in our thought process about basket, water.
Well, and it's interesting, just before you do that, you'll tell me where to go. Leviticus 26 verse 17, it says you shall reign over you, and the word you shall flee. You shall reign over you and you shall flee.
Yeah.
It's the word Nes, Tav Mem.
Right.
The twin covenants.
Tom. Yeah.
So we've spoken that a ton. So the fact that the twin covenants make you a miracle and a banner so that you can escape, that's big.
Absolutely. But even when we say twin and you say olive tav, it's really 122. And when you say tome, it would be 222.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how and why. And this has been years of coming in a dream that's been really extracted out for many, many, many years based on we not even really comprehending what the tome was about, but it came in a different form. And now we're at this place of like going, wow. So now because of the truth, so now you're displaying this because...
Which they translate it as because, but that's the word panah.
Now you're the face.
To face and appear.
So now you're the face of truth. Selah.
Right. And so Selah, it means to think about it. Like, ponder this, that you become the face of truth.
Yep.
And then it has a yod on the end, which means now you've been given the power of the right hand.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's a big deal.
Very big deal.
The face of truth.
So
think about it.
So no, again, we could camp right there, but we're not going to be able to. But just that one verse, I wanted to start with truth, because truth points to love, and love points to truth. They're both frequencies, and this is what's being built.
Yeah, and truth sets you free.
In the Palanquin arc, this is how you find center balance. Mm-hmm. Knowing what this is, to know the frequency of what's being built. And it can be done organically. I'm not saying that you need to study the language. We've already gone, I don't even know really, in the compression of time, really where we are. But we're simply we're releasing a frequency is what we're doing.
Well, we're releasing the reality, because that's one of the definitions of this word.
Right.
We are releasing the reality of truth in the age of truth, light, and love.
Right.
So that we can disarm the illusion that we're in.